In this video tutorial, we're going to be covering the inventory screen usage. I'm going to start at the top and then drop down. The first area you see up here are buttons that will take you either to Sales, Customer, or the Store Location screen. You can also use the application menu to go to any other different screen that you want to look for. The Invoice ID, in this case Inventory ID, is the number 1. So this is the first record in the set of all the items in the screens. One of the first things I'm going to cover is the store location information. I stated in the prior video that you can have any number of stores you want in this application, and you can. For example, I have one bike company that builds bikes that has 16 locations, and that what they do is they put each individual store in the store location screen. This little underlined thing up here is a link to that screen. I'm going to pop over there for a second. When you click on it in the inventory, it's going to take you over here. If you want to add a new store, what you would do is go up to Do Action, add a new record, and then enter the information for that store in here, and the contacts, a couple of contacts and a telephone number. And then you can tap on this and add their logo for their invoice and also for their store in this location here. And you may have to jockey it around a little bit and play with it to get it to fit exactly the way you want it to look on this screen in here. But once it's in here, then it's useful as far as on the invoice and other areas within the application. There may not be a reason, but I pointed out earlier that you may want to delete a record for one reason or another. This little icon right here is used to delete this particular record. If for some reason you want to play around with the application before you really start putting a lot of data in it, this is a child record and it's not going to hurt to delete this record. So what you would want to do is just go ahead and click this. It should give you a warning when you click on it. It'll say, do you really want to delete this record? And you can say no, and that'll stop it. If you hit yes, it would definitely delete the record. The creation date is a store enter where you put in the date that you actually entered this record and the store location. Now to return to the inventory screen, you can just pop up here and hit this button and you're back in the inventory. Now obviously this is one of the starting points I covered early in the videos. You have to create your inventory before you can do purchasing because you don't have an inventory until you put it in. So you can't purchase anything until you have the inventory in place. So let's go through the steps to add a single item. We're in the first record, and we'll just, for this purposes, act like there's nothing here, and I'll add it the way it should be added. So what you would do first of all is you would click on the store name and go ahead and pick from the list. Now there's only 2 stores in here currently. If you had more than that, you could scroll through the scroller and pick the one you want. Now the reason that you can't edit here is that the iPad and iPhone do not allow you to edit this information in this screen. So you would use the store location screen if you were adding a new store, and then it would put it in here. In this case, I'm not going to change it, just going to click off of it. When you select it, it's going to automatically put in the address if you filled in that field, the city and the state or province where it's coming from. Now this is kind of important information up here because you'll notice down here there's a thing called the combo store price field. If you add a store up here, then that item that you're putting in is that store's inventory item. It's very easy to tell when you go through the records who has what items in the inventory. For example, if I'm picking an item from inventory and I look at the example information on an invoice, it's going to tell me the store location where I'm picking this. So if I were picking it from my own store and I was picking item 123 item, I would go ahead and look at 123 item, and then I would pick the store that it's appropriately being sold for or from. Okay, so that's that. Now it copies the ID down to here in the records. The next thing you're going to put in here is the standard price that this is going to sell for. So this is something that it could vary between stores, but it's supposed to be standardized more or less. So you put in the value. Now when you click on it, it's going to bring up the keyboard and you can go ahead and put in the value that you want to put this in for as what it would sell for. Now in this case, I'm going to add the 00s on here and show you what it does on the record down here. Do you notice it was a 5 before and now it looks like $5? So I'm going to point out that you should put in the full character set for the actual value of the item you're selling, because when you're picking it from the invoice, it's going to clue you in as to what this is selling for. The way it does that is you have a drop-down list that's going to put the name of the item, the store it's from, and the price. And that will give you the idea right there that this is what the standard price is. Now there is a cost, but we'll be covering that when we get into the purchase screen. So let's go ahead and say, next thing we want to do is based on sales, which are down here, and I'll explain this in a minute, you can pick out a high and low level for the stock that you want to keep on board. If this is what we call a fast mover and you sell a lot of them, then the high level is going to be great and a low level is going to be higher than most other records. In this case, when you get down to 10 that you want to reorder, and there's a way you can tell how to reorder, because if the reorder number or low level is greater than the quantity on hand, you're going to get a red or bright orangish color behind the on hand. This is also produced when you look at the inventory report, and you can readily tell what has to be ordered because these will be flagged on that inventory report in this color. And that would tell you that this is the products that you need to order. Now, if you're closing out stuff and you're going to let this drop below the actual inventory level, then that's not a big deal. You just drop the level here down to the last one and put a 1 in there. And when you hit the last one, then the color will come up. Or you can even put 0 as low level, and it'll avoid colorizing this where you would not order any more. Okay, if you're looking at the sum that's been received, which we'll be talking about in the purchase area, you'll see that this has been 3 of them have been received. And if you look at the number, when you look at the purchase information, you'll see that if there are 3 and we're still under the low level, it's still going to be not enough to supply the demand that you have in your store. Okay, I stated over here, but I want to walk through this again. This combo field is very important when you're going through here to make sure that the information you're adding portrays the actual values and information that you want when this is being picked by the user when he's doing an invoice, so that the data is correct here. The combo field is a nice thing because what it does is it's able to collect a lot of information and put it in one outlook over here on the side. When you're in the invoice and you pick the item, like 1, 2, 3 item or whatever it is, from here you'll see it here when you pop it up, and then you can add this information. You don't add it, it would only add the actual product code. The product name may be different than the item over here. It depends on how you're distributing the item. And in this particular case, I'd say most cases, this would match. You would have whatever this says, this would say over here. You might embellish a little bit by putting, say, for example, to keep this small, it may say can of beans, for example, number 10 can or something like that. And that should be over here, but it doesn't necessarily have to be included over here. That's your choice as the company that's distributing this information. The next thing is there is a category. Now, category is what family group these products actually belong in. You can actually do this field search and find different things that you want to go through based on the actual family group or category that they're in. And in some cases, this is a fast way in reports or list views to pull up a selection of records that are inventory items based on the actual category that they belong in. Maybe you're ordering things that are household items and you want to see all the household items because you're going to a vendor that you buy them from and they're all household items. You would go ahead and do the search in your list on the inventory report and show household items, and then that would be something that you would be looking at those for high and low levels and what they actually have in them. Now, for this particular inventory item, you have a pop-up or a popover here. Now, it's colorized because there's a low level. You can add any comments in here that you want to about the product. There are some products that have special notes that have to be carried on them, and that's good for this particular record so that you can add it or edit it as required. This again is the logo for the business that you're working with. So what happens, this is not the logo. This is the actual image of the product that you're actually putting in this screen. And you would have the image of anything. For example, you can use your iPad or iPhone to shoot a live image of it and then take it from your library on your phone or iPad and add that photo into this space right here. All you have to do is tap on it and it brings up this where you actually could say replace or go out to the photo library. You also have the photos. Obviously, you would not want to put music or audio in there, but you have in some cases a way to put signatures in fields if you needed to. Let's go back here. Now, what is this down here? This is actually very interesting because it's something that is not in a lot of applications, but it gives you a real good tool. What this does is the invoice live information. Basically, every time an invoice is filled up for this product and the information is on the invoice and it takes one of the items from this store, it's going to put that information into this scrolling field only for the sales of that item. It'll also calculate the sum of quantities sold, the sales tax total for all the items that are sold, and the sum of sales for all that item. What does that do for you? You can look at the individual pricing and the information up here and how it was sold or whether it had a discount when it was sold, and that'll give you information you can use in future sales because this is used in trend analysis. You can look at this, and if you wanted to, you can come over here and click on this, and it's going to take you back to the actual invoice and how it was distributed and how it was purchased and all the information very quickly. So you get a lot of information here. And again, there's a note in this area. If there's a sale of an item and you want to put a note on it, like it was damaged or something and you discounted it, you could put something in there. Or if you're discounting it because of a big sale, you can put that in there and tell it that it was a discount for sale. That way the person that is actually reviewing all the sales for these items would know that information. Now let's get out of here for now because we're going to come back and show you this later. I'm going to go back to the inventory. So each time you have an invoice sale, it's going to show in this screen and summarize it. Let's show you the rest of the tabs in here so you understand what these are used for. This is the purchase status. Now note up here that it says this is a read-only data, do not modify here. What this is basically saying you is this is just showing you the information of purchases that have been done by the purchase order screen, and each time there's a purchase order done, you're going to get the same thing as the invoice where it shows you the sum of records, that the count of how many have been purchased, and the sum of cost of purchases for all the items that were purchased. Now you're going to be able to compare your sum of purchases and information over on the invoices and compare the two to see what you need and how fast you're either buying items or selling items for their trend analysis. The purchase status is also, if you take a look here, the quantity of actually received items is always going to be here. So you can see if this is going to be blank, they may be on order, but it may not be received yet. And you can see the data received. What that's going to do is allow you to see from the date of the purchase, how long did it take before you actually received it. And that information also would be the line total of the items for each individual one here. Let's go to product information. Product information is a more detailed screen information of this individual product. Now, there's a lot of stores that have to have more details because of particular things that are specific to maybe a spec or specification for a product. This gives you the ability to do like weight, length, cost to ship it if you have to ship it, and a product shelf life if it has a shelf life on it. That information is always important. And then down here I've supplied a inventory UDF where you have a title field, and you also have a text field below it where you can enter just the title and then the information for it. And you can have as many of these as you want. This is a scrolling field. Every time you create a new record here, it's going to add another one down here so you can have an infinite number of UDF fields. Let's go to the next thing, and this one is going to be important. Trying to explain to some stores and some businesses that barcodes are useful in certain circumstances. If you're doing an inventory and you want to use a barcode to find out what the product is on a search within the database, then that's something you can do readily. But if you're using it on an invoice, it can actually slow down your process of checking out. You may want to consider not using barcodes for invoice to put in the invoiced information. It is somewhat fast, but picking up, say, like an iPad or an iPhone as the scanner device and putting it over the barcode and taking it maybe once or twice to get it in focus and then actually take the barcode slows you down. The way this application is set up, you can add roughly in about 2 seconds, you can add a new item. All you have to do is type the first few letters of the actual product ID, like 1, 2, 3, and it'll reduce the amount of things you're viewing down to whatever you type in the invoice. So for in this case, if I did 1, 2, I would see 1, 2, 3 item is one of the items listed, and all you have to do is tap on it, and that's the one you'd pick. In the scroller, it's very easy to scroll through very quickly and pick that item, and it takes maybe 2 or 3 seconds to pick the item you're looking for. Okay, let's go ahead and continue here. There is a barcode generator that you can do to create. In this case, I have 2 different barcodes. I have one that is for the actual item product code that you're using in your own business. If it's different than the vendor barcode and you're using a different one, you have both options here, either to copy and paste this one into here to create the barcode information for your product on your own product code, or you want to put the narrative in here that makes it much more simple for the user to read it, or you can put your narrative name in here and the barcode behind it, the number on the barcode. You'll see that this matches the barcode from the vendor. Now, there's another thing you're going to be able to do to generate this. I've created a link that you can change if you want to pick something else for opening a URL. Just change this link and it'll take you to whatever other barcode user you want to. But I have one to generate barcodes right in the application where you type in the barcode, you pick the type of barcode you want. In this case, it could be a 3 of 9, which is my favorite. And you can check these and see how you like them. You pick the one you like the best, or you want to maybe stay the same as whatever the vendor is using. If he's using 128, then that may be what you want to do. And if you scroll down this page, let's get down here, there's some explanations of how each barcode will work, and it'll tell you how to scan them, and you'll get an idea about what the barcode is all about and how and what it can do. In order to get out of here, to get back to the app, just click Done, and you're back. Now, what I've also added here, and you'll probably appreciate this, is if you want to tag your own products with your own barcode, or you want to use the vendor code to go ahead and put the barcode on the product in a different location, you can do that by clicking on the print labels. And what I've done here is I've created a bar label programmer for an 8.5 by 11 or an A4 page where you have 12 barcodes per page. It gives you the product ID name and the barcode itself, and then it also has a barcode that you can use in here. And if you want to view it as a larger view, you can click on it, it'll bring it up. So if you wanted to scan the screen for some reason, you could scan it by doing this, and that would give you an instant barcode read on the barcode scanner or on your iPad. This is true of both of the screens here. Let's go back to inventory. And on the inventory screen, if I go back into barcodes, this is the same thing you can print, almost identical, only in this case, it's going to be reversed. You're going to have the example name, you're going to have the product name, and then the barcode. And if you notice, this is the actual OT123, and then the actual item. Okay, so that's the item that you're actually working with, and you'll notice here on this one it actually puts the dollar value of the sale price for the item. So if you had it come up to you, you could verify the price on it by looking in the example information that we had up here. Let's go back to inventory. So that gives you a lot of variables, a lot of things you can do that are really interesting in the inventory screen, a lot of features. But we're not done. Here's another one. If you click on the price lookup, this is something that is really interesting that you can do in this application. First of all, it gives you the option to read a barcode. If it's you can use either the vendor. In this case, we put in your barcode image for the company, and you can put down the number down here or paste it in from the other record as to what that barcode number is. Or you can take the name, and in most cases what you're going to need to do is take a name of the product itself. And what you would do is go ahead and copy it. And when you click on a field in an actual version of the iPhone or iPad, it's going to give the ability to copy that information that's in here. Then what you're going to do, and you'll love this, is you're going to say, show me the web page. And in this case, I'm using Amazon. You tap in this field and then click paste. It'll paste the information in there, and you can do a product test or a product page lookup for the actual item that you're looking for to compare prices in the market as against Amazon. Now this is kind of an interesting way to do stuff, because what I've done is I found that in a lot of cases it tells you whether your price is relative to the market. And if you're going to buy products, you're going to stock them that are also carried on Amazon, it's a good way to see if you're beating the price on Amazon or you're just competing and not winning. So this is a very good way to track your products and see what they're actually worth to the public and what they're paying for it. Once again, we still have the product information as far as purchase status, so you can look in here and get the part number if you need to, copy that and paste that in there if a part number will work with the site that you're looking for. Now, when you're in this site, you can also leave this site. I have it hardwired to Amazon, but there's nothing to stop you from going out of this site and going someplace else if you wanted to. So stock data is also portrayed in here, so you have it available to you when you're in this screen. If you want to go back to the other screen, very simply, just go up to your screen button up here, and you can either do stock location, sales. In this case, I can pop to sales and then bring down and go to inventory. Okay, this pretty much concludes this screen, and if you have any questions about how it works in its associated screens like store location and price lookup, you can ask us those questions, and if you have other questions you get stuck, let us know what you need. The last thing I want to point out in here is if you're working with this screen, there is a inventory list screen that is very helpful when you're doing searches for products. And in here you would go to the Do Action menu. You would go in here and you would take the lookup and start a find for looking for items in this record. And that's what you would use to find inventory items. And then you can use the pop into record, for example, to go into the inventory to see that particular item. Okay, thank you for taking this tutorial.